Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I am Iris, and we are in between eclipses, and I am talking with you about the week ahead. So we are literally talking about this energy that's pulling us into our second eclipse, and that's going to be our solar eclipse, which is in Libra. Now that is on October 2nd, so that is technically beyond this week dates that we're talking about. So I'm talking about September 23rd to September 29th, and this is coming the day after equinox. So our sun has just entered Libra, so we're coming out of a Pisces lunar eclipse. The sun is moving through these first stages of Libra, and then we're going to have our second eclipse, our solar eclipse, and that's going to be a Libra eclipse, and that's going to be the new moon, okay? So also keeping in mind that we're not only in eclipse season, we're not only just coming out of equinox, which is significant, we're also moving in towards the solar eclipse, which is a new moon, okay? And we are working with quite a bit of Libra energy this week. And so right away, as we start this week off on the 23rd, we come out of that equinox, which is that kind of moment of equal light and dark, day and night. And that said, this is a particular equinox because there's quite a bit of breakdown energy. There's quite a bit of active Pluto, who's at that final degree of Capricorn. And so there very likely is something in our life, in our psyche, in our relationships, relationship with ourselves, with life, with another being, that is changing, that is breaking down so that there can be a new beginning. And it might be a really big new beginning, but we are in that kind of overlap of endings and beginnings happening. And what's really interesting about how we start this week out on, so the 23rd, is that our sun is right at the beginning of Libra, which means that we have the sun trining Sedna, who's at that beginning of Gemini, and they do make a trine with Pluto. Pluto's not in an air sign, but it's at the 29th degree of Capricorn, so it's really close to that beginning of Aquarius, right? So we have a very powerful trine that starts the week off, that starts Libra season off. And these are big energies when we're talking about the sun, right at the beginning of Libra, just coming into the sign of one-on-one relationships, of trying, sometimes desperately, to find harmony, to find beauty, to find equanimity. And that sun, however, is brought in with this big message of an outer planet, Pluto, and a galactic energy from Sedna that is all about transformation, that is all about moving through past experiences of loss. Maybe those experiences come up, but this is about something that is transformative within the psyche, within the mind-body connection, within our relationships, but also just within our sense of self. That, whatever we've experienced in the past, Sedna brings us into those archetypal wounds of loss, archetypal wounds where in our psyche there's experiences of deep loss, whether that comes from betrayal or that comes from just the complexity of intergenerational trauma, and that comes from all the complex ways of being human. When we're talking about Sedna, it really comes into an archetypal wound that's kind of resonating within the psyche. And of course, we're talking about a trine, and a trine we tend to think of as supportive. And yet I always like to remind clients when we're talking about a trine with Pluto, we're still talking about major transformation. When we're talking about a trine with Sedna, we're talking about this kind of seed that's planted in our psyche, and through the ocean of experience washing away at the rock that we are, we transform over so long, and then we come into this moment of consciousness and we're transforming. And there's something powerful going on. And it might be so powerful that we don't completely understand it, but just knowing that we do start off this week with this kind of big transformative energy. And because Sedna is so far, it's only really when she's talking in a very exact aspect that she's really felt, and she is felt on the 23rd as we move through this. And then, of course, the sun is going to keep moving on. Also on the 23rd, we still have Venus, who has moved into the beginning of Scorpio, but she's still squaring Pluto. Okay. And so for equinox, Venus was squaring Pluto. And this is also big energy. This is also, there's something breaking down. And that's really important because Venus rules Libra. And so, you know, she is just entering her journey through Scorpio. And as Venus moves into Scorpio, this takes us into the depths of intimacy. This takes us into, you know, what are really my values when I'm allowing myself to go into that kind of boundaryless place that intimacy is, whether it's with a romantic partner or a friend or even a family member that we have, you know, a very special relationship with. In our one-on-one realms, especially the ones that go into those intimate places, because a lot of one-on-one relationships don't go into those intimate places that have murkiness, that we don't know where our stuff ends and their stuff begins. That's Scorpio. And Venus is going into those waters, and she is going to journey through them. And Venus in Scorpio is ruling this eclipse that we're moving into. Okay, so that also shows us that there's something deep going on and there's something transformative, because Scorpio transforms. Scorpio goes into those depths so that the snake can shed its skin over and over and over. And as we start this week out with this powerful kind of trine of Sedna, Pluto, and our Libra sun, then we also have a start out to the week of Venus squaring Pluto. Okay, so there is potentially some breakdown, but breakdown in this sense, it doesn't mean bad. It just means that there is energy, and it is, you know, we're in eclipse season. Eclipse season is a karmic time. Eclipse season is when something that even just emerges in the present moment, it's bringing stuff up so that we can have potentially an evolutionary jump, so that we can open up to new experiences, so that our path can go on a new direction potentially. That's what eclipses offer to us. And then, of course, if we have things in our chart that's in a close aspect to whatever's happening in the eclipse transit chart, then we're going to feel that really personally, and that might be a big change coming into our life. So this week signals that there are changes, that there are old programmings breaking down so that new programmings can come. And let's also remember that this is coming out of that Pisces lunar eclipse, and that was a Neptunian moment. That was a Neptunian moment that's rippling out into realms beyond what the mind can understand. And from there, those kind of dreamscapes, whether we're literally asleep or alive, you know, that's the magic of Neptune, is that it blends realities and it creates another realm, and that other realm comes into this daily life. That is putting us into this Libra season towards a Libra eclipse, when maybe something was birthed during that lunar eclipse, something was illuminated. And now we're being asked to look at how our one-on-one dynamics, some old programming there, can get scooped out, cleared away, so that we can get busy building those dreams, making those dreams come into reality, allowing ourselves to open up in new ways with ourselves and with others. And so also what we're watching this week is Mercury and the Sun are moving through Libra, and they're going to come up, and at the end of the week they are going to be conjunct, and then we're going to go into our eclipse on the 2nd, and we're going to have the moon, the sun, true black moon Lilith, and Mercury all there around 10 degrees. Mercury is going to be at 11 degrees of Libra. So and remember, that's a new moon. Okay, it's an eclipse, it's a new moon. That is going in. That is getting quiet. That is allowing a clearing so that we can reemerge in a new way. And as we move through that eclipse portal, that's when the cosmos, the psyche, universe, God consciousness, spirit source, that energy is very ripe as we're in that quietude and we are co-creating with it. And Mercury on the 24th is going to be moving it's going to be approaching its end of Virgo, and then it's going to move into Libra, and then it's going to catch up with the sun. So on the 24th, it's going to be trine Uranus, okay? So that is opening, that is awakening, so that we have this kind of start to the week that is potentially a little charged, potentially revealing things that need to shift, revealing one-on-one dynamics that need to shift within ourselves so that we can show up more honestly. And then we have this kind of awakening moment of Mercury approaching that final stage of Virgo. And on the 24th, it comes into its trine with Uranus. And then what's going to happen? Of course, it's going to do what the sun did. It's going to talk to all the outer planets. It's going to be opposite Neptune. And then it's going to be trine Pluto. And then on the 26th of September, it's going to move into Libra. So we have this big energy of that Mercury now speaking with all the outer planets. And it is going to move through that kind of awakening and then opening. Neptune comes back. Mercury goes and it's opposite Neptune. And it brings back potentially some understanding of what was going on with that Pisces eclipse in a new way. Okay, now remember, when Mercury is talking to Neptune, we're still working with symbol, we're still working with dreamscapes, but there might be some understanding that we're able to receive. And then it's going to move on, and it's going to be talking to Pluto in a trine, allowing those new insights to move into transforming our frame of mind so that we can move into Libra with Mercury. And then the 27th through the 28th, 29th, it's going to be moving and it's going to catch up to our sun. And the sun during that time is going to be moving into a conversation with the South Node. And the South Node is there in Libra, of course, because that's what makes this an eclipse, is where our nodes are, and when we have the full moon and the new moon near the eclipse. And so the 27th, 28th, and 29th is when the sun is going to be really in that conversation with the South Node. And then on the 30th, the sun and Mercury are going to be conjunct, and that's going to be next week. Okay, but so as the sun approaches that South Node, that is when there is karmic insights, karmic clearing, and just being open to what that means. And I think it's really important that karmic doesn't mean bad. The fact that the sun is coming into the South Node, we might be a little tired. We might have some energy draining at that time because there is a lot going on, and we really want to take care of ourselves, especially if you're feeling it. And, you know, it could be things are coming up in one-on-one dynamics. It could be that new people are coming into our life because we've cleared out some, like we've been working with the South Node in Libra for quite some time. It's approaching the end of its journey there, right? So we've been doing our work of clearing. We're having an opportunity to do even more of that, to not silence ourselves, in the name of people pleasing. And that sun conjunct the South Node at the end of this week, again, the 27th through the 29th into next week, is really potentially giving us opportunity to show up in a new way, to have the insights that come, especially as Mercury is coming in, right? To understand, okay, I am going to speak with compassion, but with compassion for myself and also for others. This is still Libra. Libra wants peace, it wants harmony, but it wants it not at the expense of one or another. It wants us both to be able to show up and speak our heart. And so we're most likely going to have some opportunities for that. And we might be inviting new people into our life and if they are coming into our life during an eclipse, when the sun is conjunct the South Node, most likely, if we open up to past lives, we've danced with them before, especially if it's kind of we're meeting these people and it just feels like we click, right? So if that's happening for you, you could have those karmic relationships coming up. And most likely if there's things ending or we're just transcending into a new stage, and especially if it's someone that we are like really been enmeshed with, there's probably a karmic dance there that's coming forth in a new way too. And this is what we do, and this is what eclipse helps us with, so that we can move into new journeys, okay? I also want to mention at the end of the week, the 20th and the 29th, there's this nice trine starting to form between Saturn and Mars. So Saturn is in Pisces and Mars is in Cancer. And then this is going to hold, and for our eclipse on October 2nd, Venus is going to go and complete it. She's going to be in Scorpio. So we're going to have a water trine between Saturn, Mars, and Venus, holding our new moon eclipse. Okay, so on the one hand, there's deep emotions there, but there's deep emotions there that are wanting to support us, that are wanting to nurture us, that are wanting to help us come into alignment. That Saturn is very important in Pisces. That's wanting to help us come into new nurturing, with nurturing of ourselves, nurturing of our sacred drive, active rest with Mars in Cancer, and going deep into our values and allowing those values to be that which creates new experiences of intimacy, because this trine is happening during the eclipse next week. So we get the first tastes of that trine at the end of the week, when it starts forming between Saturn and Mars, and then Venus will come in later. But it's already kind of opening up that water support, but also knowing that there's water trine going on. So emotions are coming up, but they're coming up to support us as we move through this very Libra moment. And also remembering, right? Not letting go of what came up or what was seeded during that Pisces eclipse, especially because when is it? Around the 25th of this week, when Mercury is opposite that Neptune, those themes are coming back up. And then we're being asked to look at how our one-on-one dynamics, and I talked about this in the last video I had on the equinox. Those one-on-one dynamics are absolutely about us and ourself as well. And that's where Libra needs to do work, and needs to also, we might be saying, okay, how have I been maybe silencing myself in my relationship with myself? And if I'm doing that, it's going to be pretty hard to show up in other dynamics, right? And so all of these themes are coming up this week, and we are journeying with them. Remember that we're in eclipse portals. Remember that the unexpected can emerge, and also co-creating with the spirit of hope, co-creating with the spirit of love and compassion and beauty, because that is where Libra takes us. And with that, I will see you when we're probably talking about that eclipse, because I'll have a couple videos on that. I'm sending lots of love, and be well.